Okay, well, hello again and welcome. As Brandy said, this is a talk about the exhibition, Drawing on a Legacy, highlights from the John Driscoll American Drawings Collection. This is an exhibition that opened and was up in the galleries at the Palmer all too briefly, beginning in February, and remained open to the public for about 5 weeks before we had to close, of course, due to the pandemic. It comprises 29 drawings in an array of media and kind of variously sized works as well that were part of a larger gift from late 2018 by a longtime friend of the museum, John Driscoll. Sadly, very sadly, John Driscoll passed away in April, very unexpectedly, making this kind of exhibition very sort of poignant for us as an institution. And kind of honoring his philanthropic legacy in an altogether kind of unexpected way. John was involved with the museum from its earliest days, particularly as a graduate student at Penn State in the art history program, where he did his master's and doctorate degrees. He went on to have a career in sort of various facets in the art world as a curator and scholar, and then eventually also as a galleryist, art dealer. And throughout the course of the Palmer's history has given the museum a number of works, a number of American paintings in particular from the late 19th century and the early 20th century, as well as some ceramics. And this gift in 2018 totaled about 140 drawings, ranging from the late 18th century to about 1950. So that's just kind of a brief introduction to the kind of overall scope of what the works on view, the 29 works on view were called from, were selected from. And to learn more about John and his kind of generosity and his legacy, I would encourage you to turn to his New York Times obituary of May 22nd, if you haven't already. So I wanted to start at the beginning, in a sense, of these 29 the beginning being the earliest work given to us from this collection, the earliest kind of dated work that we know of, this John Vanderlyn charcoal study related to the work of the French master, 17th century painter, Nicolas Poussin. I'm going to talk about 18 of the 29 works that are in the exhibition today. And then if you kind of would like, further follow-up or further information about this kind of selection that was featured in the museum, we also have a kind of online component that will share that link at the kind of end of the presentation here. And partly this kind of reduction in talking about these is for time, but also partly because some of the drawings don't necessarily translate so well into the sort of digital virtual Zoom format, perhaps partly for their kind of delicacy or the sort of the faintness of their surfaces. So the Vanderlyn here, an artist born in America, sort of at the in the sort of crux of the nation sort of rendering itself anew in 1775. But he goes to study in Paris between 1796 and 1801, where, like many artists kind of on the grand tour, are spending their days, sort of being inculcated with the old masters, studying from the old masters. Vanderlyn reportedly spending hours in the Louvre Museum in Paris, in particular, being captivated by old masters such as Nicolas Poussin. And in this kind of early study, he's still a bit of a kind of student years, if you will. We see St. John the Baptist baptizing Christ in one of the seven sacraments that are kind of central, foundational to the Catholic faith there in the river Jordan. And it's been identified as having a kind of relationship to Poussin. As I said, Poussin painted two sort of monumental cycles of the seven sacraments, both of which begin with the baptism. And you can see ways in which it seems to owe a kind of debt to, compositionally, to Poussin. I show you those two paintings there, one from the National Gallery in Washington here, stateside, and then another that's in a private collection but on long-term loan in Scotland, in the National Galleries in Scotland. And it's a bit sort of unclear, I guess we could say, or in question, just whether Vanderlyn would have seen these particular paintings by Poussin. My understanding, based on sort of provenance research, was that they were both already in private hands and outside, at least one of them being kind of outside of France, outside of the European continent. He may have had some awareness of the 1646 picture from a sale of it in that same year, 1798. But you can see some of the kind of ways that, he's taking a cue from the kind of complex poses and sort of emotional reactions of Poussin, the sort of emphasis in his charcoal on gestures and kind of unresolved figural groupings, nonetheless, sort of being a sort of compelling sort of rendition of that subject. And it's the only religious, sort of explicitly religious subject that is a drawing in this group given to us by Mr. Driscoll. Vanderlyn, as I said, spending quite a bit of time in Paris until 1801. I think he's sort of traveling and back in the United States by 1801, 1803, but then really ensconced in France further until about 1815. And he's known for this panorama that's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art today. Okay, sort of sticking with European subject matter, I want to sort of touch on this drawing, this kind of graphite and watercolor image by William Bartlett. This temple in Sicily from the 5th century BCE that sort of anticipates its use in a later publication of his. He was sort of best known for these travel books, these kind of travel logs, drumming up interest sort of in exploration and kind of grand tourism and the like. And he was a really sort of prolific draftsman and perpetual explorer, traveling extensively in Europe, but also in the Middle East from time to time. And he was British, and he visited the United States 4 times, as I understand it, between the 1830s and the early 1850s. So, you see the way that this kind of motif, that this particular monument here, seen from a kind of low vantage point, monumentalized, gets sort of repeated. But, his sort of treatment of it also is part of a kind of larger fascination with, with the classical world in, early mid 19th century America, with Southern Europe, and his drawing there on the left kind of also predates Thomas Cole's landscape of that same structure, that same kind of architectural rune there that we see at a distance in the painting on the right. Thomas Cole being the kind of leading light of American landscape painting, the kind of American school of landscape painting known as the Hudson River School these days. Another American abroad, Jasper Cropsey's Walton on Thames, at left here, very kind of faintly rendered, but then based, the basis for that painting that's in the Museum of Fine Arts collection that I show you at right. So, some of the works that were given by John Driscoll are sort of highly finished, standalone works of art in their own right, we might say. But then some are kind of have an unfinished quality, or sort of partly finished, or are related to other sorts of projects, to other paintings, or to other prints, or to illustrations. So, identifying some of the kind of relationships has been part of the research that's gone on in the last year or so. As I said, this collection is sort of large. There's a lot kind of further study of it to sort of be done. And that's been one of the kind of joys, but also one of the challenges, and sort of will be also going forward. Okay, so back to Cropsey here just briefly. And he lived in, so the long story short is that Cropsey, American born, but lives in London from 1856 to I think 1863 or so, and travels throughout England, making this kind of very delicate line drawing of this village about 15 miles or so north of London where he's residing. You see he sort of works out the architectural details. He's actually been trained as an architect himself before sort of going on to pursue art, and kind of working out in that drawing the basic elements that will make themselves apparent in the painting. But in the painting, you see kind of adding these sort of anecdotal touches, namely sort of the groupings of the figures, the boatmen, and so on. But Cropsey, one of the most kind of accomplished draftsmen affiliated with the Hudson River School landscape painters in America. Okay, another British artist, Frederick Percy, at left. His entrance to Cainesville, this kind of wash drawing in sepia tones, was part of a much larger project that he undertook as part of his being kind of ensconced among a group of Mormon converts in their travels from England to Utah in 1853. So he's depicting their kind of lengthy trek at basically every stage. And then upon his return to England, Percy's sketches were reproduced as engravings in this kind of substantial volume, the route from Liverpool to the Great Salt Lake that you see there at the kind of behest of this editorial kind of intervention. And it's this really kind of compelling visual travelogue of migration, of immigration in the American West. So, sort of transforming this, these sort of, scenes into, with kind of textual accompaniment in the final version. And I show you the sort of steel engraving of our particular, or the Palmer's particular scene as it was reproduced in that publication. He, ultimately went back to England for the remainder of his life, where he taught for some years in London, this artist Percy. Switching gears slightly to two works here, one by Samuel Jones and a sort of smaller work, and then a slightly larger work by John Reuben Smith, around the Catskills, the Catskill Mountains, the Catskill regions, the Hudson River Valley, and so on, that would become so important as a site for this kind of burgeoning group of landscape painters celebrating the kind of majesty and awe and wonder of the sort of new world, the new continent, its mountains and rivers and so on. We know very little about Samuel Jones. He's, virtually kind of unknown, but there's this kind of early scene that was part of this gift from 1817, this graphite and ink on paper that, suggests some kind of early activity and even kind of settlement in that region. You see the sort of boatmen and that bridge in particular. And so it's this really sort of rare for its sort of earliness in depicting that particular landscape in the Catskill Mountains of New York. Again, that region that would, inspire a kind of whole generation of artists who became sort of closely associated with it. On the right, a slightly later image of in watercolor, this sort of marvelous sheet by John Reuben Smith, showing the sort of great activity that's already by the 1830s and 1840s occurring with visitors and sort of tourists, day trippers and so on, to that site, eschewing a view of the falls itself, but rather showing the kind of infrastructure, the architectural kind of infrastructure, the viewing platform, if you will, and those figures kind of wandering to and fro in those environs there. Smith, also kind of London-born. His father was a Mezzotint engraver, I believe, so he kind of comes from this artistic family. He comes to New York City about 1806, so he's kind of well established in America before he paints or executes this watercolor. He establishes a drawing academy in Boston, and becomes a kind of actually very influential instructor of of drawing for a couple of later artists, Sanford Gifford, American landscape painter, who you may have heard of among them. But one thing that's interesting about this is sort of a part and parcel of these other scenes, like this aquatint from 1830 by him as well. That's not in the Palmer, but I just bring it up for comparison here. That's kind of again showing the Catskill Mountain House, these sort of tourist environs that are already kind of competing for visual attention with the kind of natural wonders themselves that are already kind of, making inroads into kind of how we think about pristine wilderness and so on. Let's see. So there's some, as part of this gift and part of this exhibition, there's some smaller scale kinds of work, some sort of more kind of abbreviated, kind of dashed off, sort of on the spot types of work. And I just show you 3 examples here. The Francesca Alexander, the Russell Smith's Forest Clearing, which is part of a drawing, a sort of suite of drawings, a kind of sketchbook. I think there's about 11 or 12 of them. This is just one example, one sheet from that. And then Frank Anderson, a somewhat kind of lesser known artist there, with a more kind of finely detailed execution of this meeting of kind of wooded features and boulders, sort of seemingly balanced together across that stream. Alexander was the daughter of a portrait painter in Boston. She would have executed this drawing, which is dated 1851, kind of in and around Boston, or Swampscott Woods, which is, I think, just north of Boston, where her family had sort of spent summers, as I understand it. So she was a rather kind of precocious attraction to art. And at 16, her family moves to Florence, Italy. Not kind of long after she would have made this graphite study of that sort of tree trunk. Another, Russell Smith, was a Scottish-born artist. He settles initially near Pittsburgh with his family in 1822, I believe, and then eventually they're in Philadelphia, in and around Philadelphia, where they're kind of most associated. The Palmer has actually 2 paintings by Russell Smith as well, one that was recently given by John Driscoll, a self-portrait of Russell Smith as a young man. So he's kind of painting in various locales, but this gift of the drawing is sort of helpful to think about the way in which his drawing practice relates to his painting practice. He had a sort of slightly more painterly touch than some of his contemporaries. And then Anderson was a figure who lived in upstate New York. He was somewhat reclusive. He takes to printmaking, to etching a bit later in his career. Let's see. So kind of in a similar vein of these sort of details of nature, I wanted to share this one really, delicate, furled leaves by Helen Cyril, probably produced in Dusseldorf, Germany, where she was receiving her formal training from 1867 to 1871. These kind of curl leaves that sprout from that kind of very sort of foreshortened sprig with a kind of elegant simplicity there. And attending to this kind of close kind of attention, or giving close kind of scrutiny or close attention to botanical specimens was sort of one of her hallmarks, one of her great kind of skills, and they benefited her, the construction of her still life painting. So I show you a kind of comparable example that's in a museum in Washington, D.C. at the left here. Not that our drawing necessarily was the exact sort of inspiration or study for it, but that it shares a certain affinity in sort of attention to the way in which those kinds of branches would here, I think, somewhat strikingly be used for her paintings as well. And I also just kind of appreciate the sort of blankness of the page as sort of calling attention to it itself. Let's see here. A few other, or rather two other still lifes, two kind of differing approaches to still life. I suppose we could say a tabletop kind of firmly kind of orchestrated still life of flowers in a vase on a marbled surface by Harry Fenn, rather, who purportedly came to the U.S. In the early 1860s to see Niagara Falls from Britain. Again, another kind of artist with this gift for botanical accuracy. Here, in this example, this watercolor, creating this sort of opalescent, kind of jewel-like effect with that sort of surface color, this kind of gem-like surface of this particular watercolor. He was ultimately kind of based in New Jersey and New York City, and becomes a sort of advocate for watercolor, which achieves a sort of greater level of legitimacy in the United States, kind of beginning in the 1860s. It's through advocacy like Fenn's with the American Society of Painters and Watercolor that aims to kind of accord it a kind of higher status, this watercolor painting as a kind of medium coming into its own, in particular in the later part of the 19th century. The Benjamin Nutting on the right, a kind of different approach to what we might think of as, I guess, still life in a certain way. The apple looking as if it was sort of just kind of dropped from the tree in its kind of natural surround, if you will. But Nutting, not especially well known, sort of local to Boston, I think, for much of his career. But he did write a number of drawing manuals, drawing kind of textbooks aimed at sort of students to develop a kind of critical eye and a sort of technical facility with drawing as a sort of important practice in one's sort of pedagogy, one's sort of development of what it means to kind of be educated. I think some of the titles are Initiatory Drawing Card, which is an 1848 kind of text, and then a sort of later one called Pioneer Drawing Cards from the 1850s. Let's see here, these sort of texts, I think, largely directed at school children, in fact. And then this rather large sheet, it's over 2 feet wide, by William Troth Richards. There's a couple of different examples by Richards that are featured in the gift from John Driscoll. And this is a kind of tour de force work, I think, a kind of astonishing drawing in the way it's sort of minutely detailed and sort of intensely, densely worked scene in graphite there, covering the entire sheet. And it's Richards not just kind of sketching outdoors in something that's kind of preparatory to another painting, but this is a kind of painting in pencil, if you will. Richards, sort of at least in these years, the mid 1860s, was American follower of the British Pre-Raphaelites or the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, this sort of group that congregated around the critic John Ruskin. Okay, their kind of American counterparts form the Society for the Advancement of Truth in Art, kind of following the precepts of Ruskin, that sort of at base, I guess, looking for a kind of spiritual truth in the minutely observed details of the natural world. So you see this sort of embrace of this kind of new naturalism in a work like this from Richards, rejecting kind of generalities, advocating kind of working outdoors in pencil and pigments in particular, were the Ruskinians, and then this kind of painstaking portrayal of particularly kind of botanical forms, the sort of every vein of the leaf, say, or sort of the threads of the blade of grass, and so on. Richards, Pennsylvania artist, particularly kind of around Philadelphia, Germantown, PA, but really kind of accomplished and prolific as both an oil painter, a watercolorist, and in graphite, as you see here as well. So two other artists that are affiliated with this kind of American pre-Raphaelite group, this sort of loose-knit group of artists that sort of take up this charge from Ruskin to varying degrees, I suppose. But John William Hill, an artist born in London, comes to the U.S. as a child. He, in the 1830s and 40s, I believe, is employed by the New York State Geological Survey, I think, making sort of topographical illustrations, drawings, and so on for that kind of government entity, developing this kind of objective eye, documenting kind of accurate views and so on. He helps found a kind of watercolor society in the United States in the 1850s. But like Richards, very sort of absorbed in the lessons of John Ruskin, taking up this kind of detailed manner of portrayal of depiction. And we see some of that in this watercolor at left of that sort of one of the most well-known wonders of the United States, Niagara Falls there, and it's kind of sort of geological contours of the form at right, and of the kind of churn, the sort of attention to the churn and kind of the water droplets that spray from that great kind of cascading falls there. That level of sort of descriptive precision is also exhibited, is also apparent in this graphite and chalk work on the right by his son, John Henry Hill. This sort of texture, sort of trying to capture that sort of texture of the tree trunk in sort of its minute corners and so on. Its minute sort of features there with this kind of quasi-scientific sort of precision that these artists sort of both valued there in their adherence to a sort of so-called faithful transcription of nature that was for them at least deeply connected to a sort of reverence for the divine. Okay, moving back into the realm of the kind of figurative, as I attempt to kind of wind things down here. I just want to share, I think, three more examples, thinking about this really rare drawing by Seymour Joseph Guy that you see at the left there. Guy, really well known, beginning in the 1860s, for his depictions of children, these kind of sentimental scenes and conversation pieces like the painting that you see at right. And this, drawing, there's very few, it seems, if any, extant drawings floating around by Guy And this may be probably the only sort of one of a figure of a child or a figure at all. You know, to some extent, these kind of celebration of childhood innocence, these sort of, you know, barefoot boy here that emerges out of these kind of energetic, cross-hatched lines, was about, in some sense, you know, a kind of celebration of sort of innocence and renewal and new possibility, if you will, kind of in the wake of the cataclysmic, you know, violent destruction and turmoil and conflict of the Civil War of just a few years earlier. You know, painting sort of this kind of street urchin fellow, but then also sort of more well-to-do portraits like that group that you see in the painting. Guy, also British artist actually, who emigrates to America in the 1850s and becomes, you know, sort of celebrated, well-known, well-documented for these sort of highly polished scenes of American life, these kind of genre scenes, these sort of genre portraits, in a way that were quite popular and proliferating, not just with Guy, but with other sort of related artists, Winslow Homer, Eastman Johnson, John George Brown, among them. A work at left by Edwin Austin Abbey. Abbey was an artist that was born in Philadelphia. He studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. He becomes an illustrator for Harper's, and that Harper's in New York City, and then is on commission, on assignment for them, which sort of takes him to London, where he's executing these series of drawings devoted to the 17th century poet Robert Herrick. And that's kind of where this example comes in. So this would have been the sort of original for an illustration that appeared in the book. And I just sort of you know, got a snapshot from that volume. So you see sort of the poem, or kind of excerpt from the poem that it was seen to, or intended to illustrate in the finished version. It was kind of, you know, remarked upon and sort of celebrated as being quite sort of successful in its day. Another, lastly, image that's in the show, this charcoal, by Edwin Blashfield. It was an early design for this event, this occasion, this commemoration in 1909, this apparently 2-week-long sort of celebration of Henry Hudson's 1609 navigation of the Hudson River. And then also simultaneously Robert Fulton's 1807 commercial steamboat voyage from New York City to Albany. And so you see, it's kind of interesting, I guess, to sort of see the transformation that the original plan, or the original kind of design, or one of the original designs, kind of undergoes to the finished version, the finished poster, the finished sort of promoting poster that Blashfield also designed there at Wright. You know, a much more sort of staid, sort of demure, in some cases, kind of, in some way, maybe more kind of literal, and that you get the kind of representation of, those two figures, Hudson and and Fulton themselves. They're flanked by this, or flanking rather, this allegorical personification, I guess, of, you know, so-called progress. At center, it's a bit more mysterious or ambiguous exactly what's taking place in our charcoal. You know, I suspect that this might be sort of personification, or kind of river goddess of some sort, a kind of personification of water, or waterways, if you will. But it's sort of interesting to, I guess, think about. And then I also just kind of in closing wanted to harken back to the first drawing I showed by John Vanderlyn to think about, well, the sort of centrality of figure drawing in the kind of long course of academic training, of artistic training in America, and the way that's, you know, often been sort of so foundational part of, you know, early curricula in the United States, in its art academies. I think of the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, which is founded in 1805, and then the National Academy in New York City from 1825, two kind of long-standing institutions that are still with us today. So with that, I will close and we can open it up for questions, and I'll turn it back to Brandy.
Great. Thank you, Adam. That was wonderful. Very thorough. I enjoyed seeing all those works again that I had sort of missed since the exhibition had to close. We want to go ahead and open it up now to questions from our participants. I haven't seen anything come up yet in the Q&A or the chat. If we do have questions, go ahead and, you know, even if you just say I have a question in one of those, I will attempt to allow you to talk. It should work. It has worked for many people in the past. All right, we have a question from Alicia Skeeth. Alicia, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk. If you unmute yourself, you'll be able to participate. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Adam, I had a question about the Seymour Joseph Guy pen and ink drawing of the young child. So I was kind of wondering if the medium, so you're talking about how Guy, there's not many drawings from him, and if this is a case and maybe the medium is attached to the subject he's painting. So with the pen and ink on paper, I get a really good feeling for this, like kind of the dirt and grime at this like street with the street urchin. But you know, with the painting on the other hand, obviously this is a well-to-do family and this is like clean and with the oil on canvas. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is also kind of borne out in the palette to some extent. There's a kind of the sort of brownish tonalities that suggest the street, if you will, you know, sort of suggesting the location in a kind of spare, economical way through the way those shadows are sort of rendered, versus that, as you're suggesting, the sort of very refined, kind of polished surface of the painting. Yeah, I mean, I haven't necessarily kind of thought about it on those terms, but I kind of appreciate the comment, and it's a bit difficult to maybe say more without, you know, knowing a little bit more about Guy's kind of drawing practice, which is so sort of unknown and kind of obscure.
Sure, thanks.
Right, great. Thanks for that conversation. Anyone else out have a question they'd like to come on for? We did get a note from Janet Purdy. Adam, wonderful presentation. So thanks again for that. All right.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for attending.
All right, it looks like we are pretty well set. People seem satisfied and are leaving. Some more thanks coming in. And thank you all for attending today. It was great to at least have you in presence virtually, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a good day.
Thanks, bye.